The restaurant was full that evening, voices blending with the clinking of cutlery and soft background music. Alicia sat across from her husband Daniel, trying to enjoy the dinner his family had invited them to. She had been nervous about coming because gatherings like this often left her feeling like an outsider, but she told herself to smile and stay calm. Then she heard it. Vanessa's voice cut through the chatter, sharp enough to slice through Alicia's chest. "It's so sad Daniel married someone who can't even give him a child," Vanessa said loudly, her laughter following like poison. "A man like him deserves a real family, not this." The table went quiet. Every head turned toward Alicia. She felt heat rush to her face, her heart hammering as if the whole room was closing in on her. She wanted to believe she had misheard, but the smirk on Vanessa's lips told her she hadn't. Alicia's throat tightened, words stuck somewhere between her chest and her lips. She looked at Daniel, praying for him to stand up for her, to silence his sister. But instead, Daniel shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His eyes flickered away from hers, down to his plate, and he said nothing. That silence hurt more than Vanessa's words. Alicia forced herself to speak, her voice trembling but steady enough for the whole table to hear. "Vanessa, that's a cruel lie. You don't know anything about me." But Vanessa only leaned back, her eyes glittering with satisfaction. "Oh, come on, Alicia. Everyone knows by now. It's been years and still no baby. Don't act like people don't notice." She laughed again, and the sound dug into Alicia's skin. The room seemed to breathe with discomfort, but no one spoke up. Even Daniel's mother cleared her throat and stared at her glass as if silence would make it less ugly. Alicia turned back to her husband, whispering, "Daniel, say something." Finally, he looked at her, but instead of the defense she craved, there was a shadow of doubt in his eyes. His words came slowly, almost cold. "Maybe she's just saying what others are thinking, Alicia." The world stopped moving for her in that moment. Her stomach dropped, and her hands trembled beneath the table. Vanessa's smirk widened, feeding on Daniel's hesitation like a vulture. Alicia swallowed hard, her chest tight with humiliation. She wanted to scream, to run, to vanish from the weight of all those eyes pressing on her. Instead, she forced herself to sit still, her dignity the only fragile shield she had left. Inside, though, something broke. Vanessa had thrown the first stone, but Daniel's silence had cut deeper than any rumor. Alicia knew then this wasn't just about gossip. It was about a husband who didn't believe in her enough to fight for her. And that was Alicia had always been a woman who believed in hard work and kindness. She grew up in a modest home where nothing came easy, so she learned early to carry herself with quiet strength. When she met Daniel, she thought she had finally found the missing piece of her life. He was kind, ambitious, and had a way of making her feel safe. After years of dating, marrying him felt like stepping into a dream she had prayed for since she was young. At the start of their marriage, everything felt bright. They moved into a small but cozy house, and Alicia poured her energy into making it a home. She worked during the day as an office manager, and in the evenings she cooked meals, decorated their space, and dreamed about filling it with children's laughter. That dream became her greatest hope. Alicia wanted to be a mother more than anything. She imagined rocking a baby to sleep, watching Daniel hold their child, and building a family that would heal the loneliness she sometimes carried from her own past. But as months passed into years, and no child came, her heart grew heavy. She visited doctors, took vitamins, tracked her cycle, and whispered prayers at night. Sometimes, when she walked past a playground or saw a friend announce a pregnancy, a sharp pain cut through her chest. She would smile and congratulate them, but when she got home, she cried quietly where no one could see. Daniel was supportive at first. He held her hand through doctor visits and reassured her that love mattered more than children. But over time, Alicia noticed the change in his eyes. He grew quieter when the topic came up. His comfort turned into short sighs and distant stares. And then there was Vanessa. Vanessa was Daniel's younger sister, just a few years younger than Alicia, but her personality filled every room. To outsiders, she was charming, witty, fashionable, quick with compliments. People admired her confidence and called her the life of the party. But to Alicia, Vanessa was something else entirely. From the very beginning, Vanessa treated Alicia with a sweetness that felt sharp around the edges. She would hug her warmly in public, but her words in private often carried little stings. "You know, Daniel has always wanted a big family," she once said casually as they washed dishes together. "I hope you're able to give him that." Alicia had brushed it off at first, thinking maybe it was just careless talk. But it kept happening. Subtle comments about Alicia's age, her body, or the way she looked tired, all the time. Compliments that sounded more like criticism. And the worst part was how much Daniel adored his sister. He respected Vanessa deeply, almost to the point of blindness. If Alicia ever hinted that Vanessa hurt her, Daniel would shake his head and say, "You're overthinking. That's just how Vanessa is. She doesn't mean it." So Alicia stayed quiet. She wanted so badly to be accepted by Daniel's family, to be loved as much as she loved him. She believed that if she just endured, things would get better. She smiled through the discomfort at family dinners, offered to help Vanessa whenever she could, and tried to ignore the coldness behind her sister-in-law's sparkling smile. Still, deep inside, Alicia felt the distance growing. She could sense that Daniel's loyalty leaned toward his sister more than his wife. It left her in a lonely middle ground, married but isolated, surrounded by family but not truly part of it. Sometimes, in the quiet moments of the night, Alicia would lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if she was enough. If she wasn't a wife who could give children, if she wasn't a sister-in-law who could win Vanessa's approval, then who was she in this family? The longing to be seen and loved, just as she was, grew heavier every day. And though she didn't know it yet, that longing would soon clash with Vanessa's cruelty in ways that would change everything. It started with small whispers Alicia could almost ignore. At first, she thought maybe she was imagining things. A cousin avoiding her eyes at a family barbecue, an aunt patting her hand with a pitying smile, the way neighbors suddenly asked strange questions like, "So, any good news yet?" But soon, the pattern became too clear to ignore. Vanessa was talking. Word spread quickly, and Alicia knew the source. Vanessa had taken the cruel words she had once used at the dinner table and planted them everywhere. Now it wasn't just a passing comment, it was a story. Daniel's wife can't have children, people said. Poor man, what a shame. Some shook their heads with sympathy. Others whispered as if it were gossip too good to resist. At the next family gathering, the weight of those whispers pressed hard on Alicia. She walked into the living room with a dish of food in her hands, and the laughter died just a little too quickly. A group of women stopped talking when she came near. She caught the tail end of a sentence, such a waste, before silence fell. Their eyes slid away, some soft with pity, others sharp with judgment. Alicia's face burned. She wanted to vanish, to turn around and leave, but she forced herself to stay. She smiled politely, placed the dish on the table, and pretended she hadn't heard. But the hardest part was Daniel. That night, when they got home, Alicia gathered her courage. "Daniel," she said softly, "Vanessa is spreading lies about me. Everyone thinks I can't have children. Did you hear them today?" Daniel sighed and sat on the edge of the bed, his expression unreadable. "Alicia, maybe it's not a lie. We've been trying for years. People notice. Maybe Vanessa is just being honest." The words cut deep. Alicia stared at him, stunned. "So you think I'm the problem? That this is my fault?" Daniel rubbed his forehead, avoiding her eyes. "I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we should both get checked again. But you have to admit, it's unusual." Alicia felt her chest tighten, her throat ache with unshed tears. She had already gone through tests, exams, questions that left her feeling exposed and small. To hear her husband doubt her, echoing Vanessa's poison, was almost too much to bear. "Do you hear yourself?" she whispered. "You'd rather believe her than me?" Daniel didn't answer. His silence spoke louder than words. That night, Alicia lay awake in bed, staring at the dark ceiling while Daniel slept beside her. Her mind spun with anger, sadness, and fear. She had always believed that keeping quiet, swallowing the insults, was better than causing conflict. But now she saw the cost of her silence. The lie was spreading, shaping how everyone saw her, even her own husband. She realized she was standing at a crossroads. She could stay quiet, let Vanessa's voice drown out her own, and watch her marriage slip further away. Or she could fight back, risk everything, and tell the truth, even if it made her the enemy in her own family. Her hands clenched around the blanket as tears slid down her cheeks. For the first time, Alicia wasn't sure if love and patience would be enough to protect her anymore. The days that followed turned into a slow storm that Alicia could no longer escape. What began as whispers became heavy stares, and what used to be her husband's comfort became an invisible wall between them. Vanessa didn't stop. If anything, she seemed to enjoy the new power she held. At doctor appointments, Alicia noticed small things going missing. Papers she had carefully kept in her folder, prescriptions she was sure she had left on the table. One day, after another round of tests, Alicia came home and placed the reports on her desk. The next morning, they were gone. She searched the whole house in panic, but they never turned up. When she asked Daniel if he had seen them, Vanessa suddenly appeared with a laugh. "Maybe Alicia's so desperate for answers, she's imagining things now." Daniel chuckled softly, almost unwillingly, but he didn't defend her. That laugh stayed with Alicia for days. In private, Vanessa's attacks grew sharper. She would find ways to corner Alicia, speaking softly so no one else could hear. "You should just let Daniel go," she whispered once while passing Alicia in the kitchen. "Why hold him back from having a real family?" Another time, she leaned in close during a family dinner and said, "You'll always be the outsider. No matter how hard you try, you'll never give him what he needs." Alicia wanted to fight back, but every time she opened her mouth, Daniel's blind loyalty silenced her. He brushed her complaints aside, telling her she was too sensitive or imagining problems. Each dismissal chipped away at her until she stopped bringing it up. At home, the distance between them widened. Daniel no longer reached for her hand when they walked together. Nights that once ended in warmth now ended in silence, with him scrolling on his phone and her lying awake, listening to the sound of her own heartbeat. Their intimacy collapsed, not from lack of love on her part, but from the cold shadow of doubt he carried. Sometimes he would turn away when she cried, as if her pain was an inconvenience he could not bear to face. Friends she once relied on grew distant too. At gatherings, they avoided the subject of children around her, their voices soft with pity. Some even pulled back completely, as if infertility was something they might catch. Alicia found herself sitting alone more often, staring at her phone, waiting for calls that never came. The isolation was crushing, and yet, even in the middle of her pain, she began to notice something strange about Vanessa. For someone so quick to judge Alicia, Vanessa's own life didn't look as perfect as she wanted people to believe. It started with small details. Alicia noticed Vanessa sneaking out late at night, dressed far too carefully for casual outing. Once, Alicia walked into the guest room where Vanessa often stayed and saw a man's jacket draped across the chair. It wasn't Daniel's, and it wasn't their father's. When Alicia asked about it, Vanessa snapped, "Mind your own business," and quickly shoved it into a bag. Another time, Alicia overheard Vanessa on the phone, her voice low but urgent. "No, not here. You can't call me at this number," she said before slamming the door. Alicia stood frozen in the hallway, her heart pounding. The biggest clue came one afternoon when Alicia was tidying up after Vanessa had stormed out of the house. On the table lay a receipt from an expensive hotel across town, paid in cash. Alicia's fingers trembled as she picked it up. The date printed on it matched the night Vanessa had claimed she was staying late at work. The pieces didn't fit together yet, but Alicia's instincts told her something was wrong. Behind the polished smile and sharp words, Vanessa was hiding a secret. Still, Alicia's own world was crumbling too fast to chase the truth fully. Daniel was slipping away, their marriage unraveling thread by thread. One evening, after a tense silence between them, he muttered, "Maybe we should start thinking about other options. Adoption. Or maybe I should just accept that I won't have kids with you." The words hit her like a stone. It wasn't just Vanessa's poison anymore. It was Daniel's voice, carrying doubt that had taken root inside him. Alicia wanted to scream, to tell him everything she had done, every doctor visit, every prayer whispered into the night. But instead, she turned away and cried quietly into her pillow. Her silence, once a way to protect peace, now felt like a prison. And yet, beneath the pain, a spark of determination began to form. Vanessa might have stolen her peace, but Alicia knew there was something more hidden behind her sister-in-law's cruel eye. If she could uncover it, maybe, just maybe, she could turn the tide. That thought kept her going. Even Alicia had spent weeks piecing together the strange signs she had noticed about Vanessa. The late-night outings, the hotel receipts, the sharp phone calls that ended as soon as anyone walked into the room. Deep inside, Alicia knew something was there, but part of her feared she was chasing shadows. She was already accused of being too sensitive. What if she was wrong? But the truth came to her by accident. One evening, while clearing out the guest room after Vanessa had left in a hurry, Alicia saw Vanessa's laptop open on the desk. The screen glowed faintly, and curiosity tugged at her. She hesitated for a long time, her heart beating fast, but then her hand moved. She tapped the touchpad, and the screen came alive. Her breath caught. The email window was open. At first, Alicia didn't understand what she was reading. Messages filled the inbox. Lines of affection, promises, and hidden plans. Her eyes widened when she saw the name. It was Michael, her own ex-boyfriend. Shock ran through her body. Vanessa had been having an affair with Michael for nearly a year. There were photos attached to some of the emails, hotel selfies, dinners in hidden places, gifts exchanged. The words were bold, shameless. "I can't wait to see you tonight. Daniel doesn't suspect a thing. She's too busy crying about her problem." Alicia's hands shook so badly, she nearly dropped the laptop. She scrolled further, finding receipts and even money transfers. Vanessa had been paying for parts of Michael's lifestyle, helping him with rent, covering expensive outings. It wasn't just an affair, it was a whole secret life. Her first instinct was to cry, but tears refused to come. Instead, a hard calm settled over her. Vanessa had torn her down, called her infertile, ruined her marriage in front of others, and all the while, she was living a lie far uglier than anything Alicia had ever done. That night, Alicia waited for Daniel to come home. She sat at the dining table with the laptop open, the emails displayed on the screen. When Daniel walked in, tired from work, he frowned at the sight of her. "What's this?" he asked. "Sit," Alicia said, her voice steady in a way that surprised even her. "You need to see the truth." He sat reluctantly, and she turned the laptop toward him. Daniel read the first few lines, his eyebrows pulling together. What is this supposed to be?" It's your sister, Alicia said, her voice low but sharp. She's been having an affair with Michael. For a year. Daniel's face hardened. He pushed the laptop away. No, that can't be. Vanessa would never. She would, Alicia cut in. She did. Read them all. Look at the photos, the receipts, the dates. While she was poisoning you against me, she was sneaking around with my ex. She called me broken, said I couldn't give you children, but look at her life. Is this the sister you've been protecting? Daniel's jaw tightened, but Alicia could see the doubt flicker in his eyes. He wanted to defend Vanessa, but the evidence was too clear. Still, he muttered, maybe it's not what it looks like. Anger rose in Alicia, hot and fierce. Not what it looks like. Daniel, she's been lying to all of us, and you've been too blind to see it because you always put her first. She humiliated me, destroyed my place in this family, and you let her. And now you want to pretend this doesn't matter. Her words hit him harder than the proof itself. He stared at the screen again, his face pale. Alicia didn't stop there. She knew silence had cost her too much already. So when the next family dinner came, she carried the laptop with her. The room was full of laughter when she walked in, but Alicia didn't bother with greetings. She placed the laptop in the center of the table and opened the screen. Since everyone here has had so much to say about me, she said, her voice loud enough to cut the chatter. It's time you see the truth about the person who's been talking the loudest. Confused murmurs filled the room. Vanessa's smile faltered. What are you doing, Alicia? Alicia clicked on the emails, scrolling down slowly, so everyone could see the names, the photos. Gasps spread around the table. Daniel's mother covered her mouth with her hand. Daniel himself looked down, shame etched into his face. This, Alicia said firmly, is what your beloved daughter has been doing. A year-long affair with my ex. While she was spreading lies about me, mocking me, she was sneaking behind your backs. She called me unworthy of a family, but look at what she's done to her own. Vanessa's face drained of color. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie, Alicia snapped. The dates, the photos, the money transfers. It's all here. Do you want me to read them out loud? Should I read the part where you told him you loved him, or the part where you said your brother was too stupid to notice? The room fell silent. The weight of the truth pressed down on everyone. Vanessa's mask cracked, her charm gone. Alicia stood tall, her heart pounding but her voice steady. You tried to ruin me with lies. But unlike you, I don't have to invent stories. The truth is enough. And in that moment, for the first time in a long time, Alicia felt her voice. The fallout came quickly after Alicia's revelation. The family dinner that began with laughter ended in silence, so heavy it was almost painful. No one knew what to say. Vanessa stormed out of the room, but not before Alicia caught the shame and fear in her eyes. For once, Vanessa's confidence had cracked, and the truth she worked so hard to hide was out in the open. In the days that followed, the family could no longer ignore what they had seen. Calls came in, hushed conversations spread through relatives, and slowly Vanessa's perfect image fell apart. Friends who once admired her turned away, ashamed to be connected to her. Even her parents, who had defended her for so long, couldn't meet her eyes without disappointment. The same whispers that once followed Alicia now chased Vanessa instead. Daniel struggled the most. Alicia watched him wander through the house like a man carrying invisible chain. He tried to talk to her, to explain, but his words always faltered. I didn't know. I trusted her, he said one night, his voice breaking. He reached for Alicia's hand, but she pulled away. Daniel, she said quietly, I begged you to believe me. I needed you to stand by me, and instead you chose her. Your silence hurt me more than her lies ever did. He looked at her, eyes full of regret, but Alicia felt no comfort. Too much had been broken. Love, without trust, had no strength left to hold them together. The next morning, she made her decision. She sat across from him at the kitchen table and said the words she never imagined she would say. I want a divorce. Daniel's face crumpled. Alicia, please don't do this. We can fix it. But Alicia shook her head. You let her destroy us. And I let myself believe silence was enough to keep this marriage alive. I can't do it anymore. I deserve peace, Daniel. I deserve better than that. It wasn't easy. Signing the papers felt like cutting away a part of her heart, but it was also like removing a weight that had been crushing her for years. She walked out of the marriage not as a woman defeated, but as a woman who finally chose herself. Vanessa, meanwhile, could no longer hide from what she had done. Her affair was no longer a secret, and the community that once adored her turned cold. Michael disappeared from her life, leaving her with nothing but the ruins of her choices. The same tongue that had spread lies about Alicia now became her downfall. The people she once manipulated with charm looked at her with disgust. She had tried to take Alicia's dignity, but in the end, she lost her own. For Alicia, healing came slowly, but it came. She moved into a small apartment of her own, filling it with plants and warm colors. She started journaling, writing out the pain she had carried, and discovered strength she didn't know she had. Friends who had drifted away reached out again, some apologizing for believing lies. She no longer cried when she saw children in parks or heard pregnancy announcements. Instead, she smiled, reminding herself that her worth was never tied to the ability to give birth. She was enough as she was. One evening, Alicia sat on her balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. For the first time in years, she felt calm. She wasn't defined by Vanessa's cruelty or by Daniel's weakness. She was defined by her choice to stand up, to speak out, and to walk away with dignity. And as the sky darkened and stars began to appear, Alicia whispered softly to her. The world looked different to Alicia now. She walked through the same streets, saw the same faces, but the weight that once bent her shoulders was gone. People still whispered sometimes, but their words no longer carried power over. She had faced worse and survived. On quiet evenings, she often sat with a cup of tea by her window, thinking about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the silence, the humiliation. It had all cut her deeply, but it had also forced her to see her own strength. She realized now that resilience isn't born from easy days, but from surviving the storms that try to break you. For years, she had allowed herself to be defined by what she lacked: children, approval, her husband's loyalty. But standing alone, she discovered something far greater. She was not broken. She was not less of a woman. She was whole, even in her scars. Vanessa had lost the power she once held, and Daniel was left to live with the cost of his blind loyalty. Alicia felt no joy in their downfall, only a steady peace. Justice had found its way, not through revenge, but through truth. One evening, as she locked her apartment door and stepped outside, Alicia lifted her head and took a deep breath. The air felt cool, fresh, and alive. She walked forward with steady steps, her heart no longer weighed down by shame. She had been betrayed, yes, but she had also risen. And now, with dignity as her shield and freedom as her companion, she carried herself into the future. Not as the woman her sister-in-law tried to destroy, not as the wife abandoned in silence, but as herself. And that was enough. Hey besties, thanks for staying till the end. Alicia's sister-in-law spread lies that she was infertile, nearly destroying her marriage. But Alicia found the truth, Vanessa's secret year-long affair, and exposed her in front of everyone. Betrayal cut deep, but Alicia rose stronger, choosing dignity and freedom over toxicity. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.